So the Big Ten Network has been putting out a bunch of clips of like I think this was back from Media Day, players and coaches basically answering some pre-written questions for them, and they must have put a bunch of videos together and have sort of been dropping them one by one throughout the season. But the latest one was asking coaches what's the hardest opposing arena to play in. We got an answer from every single Big Ten coach. And I saw this come on the timeline. First name that came to my head was Mackey Arena, but
Hmm.
I didn't think that every coach, for the most part, would necessarily come in with the same answer. They went up and down. Every single coach answered this question. Matt Painter himself said Assembly Hall, Indiana, makes sense. Every other coach in the league, except for two, gave Mackey Arena as the answer. And Eric Musselman, I believe, said Jersey Mike's. He was like, I've heard Jersey Mike's as a new head coach is a tough one to play, the rack. And then Dusty May said the Breslin Center, Michigan State. Michigan State, that makes sense. But everybody else that's been in the Big Ten, coach one by one by one by one by one, said, oh, it's got to be Mackey Arena. Do you think that that's the correct answer of the toughest arena to play in the Big Ten?
So I've never been to any Big Ten arenas, obviously. Oh, that's not true. I forget the West Coast teams exist now. I haven't been to any like historic Big Ten arenas. Off the top of my head, I mean, obviously MSG wouldn't count in this, right?
I mean, probably not. No, right? That's not a Big Ten arena.
I was gonna say like if you got to count some of like the NBA arenas that like maybe like a couple of teams get to play at, I might change my mind. But from a specific viewing from my couch perspective, it's very clear to me that Purdue and Michigan State have the biggest home court advantages in the Big Ten, but that's like strictly from my couch. Um, Assembly looks like it could get rocking. Unfortunately, under Woody, I'm not sure they've had the team to get it to that point to where I could have that put that in the same sense that the Breslin or Mackey are in. Because like I'll be straight up honest, against Wisconsin, when Akins went on the personal 9-0 run, my first thought was if Michigan State got to play the NCAA tournament at the crib, they would win it all. Like the Breslin was rocking. Mackey, same thing. Like I said, Assembly gets rocking. Um, Nebraska's sneaky tough to play into me. And
Yep.
I think they should get more credit on this list because going into Mackey, you're probably not expecting to win that game because of how good Purdue is. But when you go to Nebraska and you deal with that crowd, and then it turns into a game where it's like, ooh, everyone's expecting us to win this. If we lose it, it's like a quad 2 or 3 loss. That has a much bigger impact than losing to a top 10 team for the most part in Purdue. So I think Nebraska should be up there. But overall, I mean, I would also vote Mackey. I will say, I know Dusty, like the rivalry aspect of his comment, it does suck because Michigan's arena has a bad reputation. So when he says stuff like that, it hits a little different to me. Um, like it's a little bit of like, hey, can we get popping too? Which is cool. There's a little Signetti in it, right? Where Signetti was like, yo, show up, let's get loud. But obviously, I think Dusty's got a much more prestigious program than Signetti has with Indiana football.
Yeah, no, Michigan is the worst in the league. As a Michigan fan, I'm totally comfortable owning this and saying this. Michigan has the worst home court advantage in the league that I have seen. I've been to 10 of these arenas in the last 3 years. 3 years ago, we went to 10 of these. We road tripped to all of them. Now, 3 years ago is different than now, but I've seen enough from these. I've been to multiple of these multiple times. I've been to Illinois multiple times, Purdue multiple times, Michigan State a bunch of times. Purdue's the only answer. I didn't expect every single coach, basically, except for the newbies who were kind of throwing things to their rival, and Muss is just delusional. But like, the I didn't think it would be that everyone agrees that unanimous. I thought the Breslin would have gotten a few more announcements or a few more picks. I thought the Kohl Center would have gotten some picks. Nobody gave the Kohl Center any love here, which is interesting because historically that used to be the hardest place to go in and
Mhm.
get a win under Bo Ryan. Maybe it's changed a little for Greg Gard, but no, if it were me, zero hesitation, Mackey Arena. That's the loudest gym. It's the most intimidating student section the way it's lined up. That whole fan base just it's life or death when you step in that building. There's something with the lights, with how dark it is. It feels cold when you're in there. Um, but yeah, for me, I just would have expected a few votes at Michigan State or Wisconsin's way that they didn't get.
I will say that there is something to um And Michigan State fans might not like this. I know they value their football program, but there's something to the passion that Michigan State and Purdue fans have for basketball, knowing their football teams aren't that good. And the next 4 months are basically all we got. Whereas if you're a Michigan fan, right, like obviously you love basketball. Michigan historically has had really good basketball teams. I mean, they played in a national championship not long ago, but you're also the reigning national champions in football. So there's a little bit less urgency, I guess you could say, from Michigan fans than there are from Purdue and Michigan State fans at the moment.
Yeah. Well, they've just been the best team, right? They just, Painter said it, they've become the winningest 5 year stretch in Big Ten history. Of course. Guess what? If Purdue was Illinois or Iowa, we'd be saying that's the hardest gym to go to the last 5 years because they've been the best teams. Hard to play Zach Edey. So
Yeah.
the one thing I will say, Paint, I saw what Paint was doing playing the rival game here, but the only team it's been hard to play in Assembly Hall recently is Indiana. It's been hard for them to play in front of their own fans in the last 2 years.
The fans are rougher on Indiana than they are the opponent.
Right. It's
A
I
lot
didn't
more
love
booze
that
going.
answer, but Paint's got to play the rivalry game, you know.